Have you ever seen the show Mythbusters? Guys, we're here to bust your myths about North Texas. So we have 7 myths that you're going to want to know about, and we'll decide, are they myths?
I don't know. Are they?
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy Haven.
And I'm Holly Haven, and we are your North Texas No Filter Real Estate team. And we do not only want you to move to Texas, we want you to really become a Texan. So today we are going to bust 7 myths that you might believe are true.
Yeah, let's get started.
And maybe they are. Let's find out.
Myth number 1. Everybody rides a horse and wears a cowboy hat.
Well, not everyone.
There are a select few people that still ride horses, especially out where we live. We're in Celina.
Where it's kind of that in-between where you wear nice jeans and a sport coat. You'll see a lot of cowboy hats when you go out, even in Dallas at different times and for specific events.
Yeah, for sure. And even our cops here in Celina wear cowboy hats. So that's something, if you see them, they are real cops. They're not playing cop. They do actually wear cowboy hats to prevent the sun from burning their skin. Obviously.
And we love them because it's a Texas icon. So we do love the cowboy hats. Not everyone rides horses. However, I have been up to the local gas station and a horse was tied up out front because he rode on up and he needed a snack, I guess. So yeah. No, most people do live in suburban areas, normal neighborhoods. One of the biggest things we get from buyers moving to Texas is they want land, right? And so there's kind of this myth or idea that you're going to get to move to Texas. You're going to get to move and buy 10 or 20 or 100 acres with this beautiful ranch style home. You're going to have your horses and it's all going to be under $1 million. That's not the case.
Myth.
Yeah. We can definitely find you a place for some of that, but it's not going to be directly here in the epicenter of North Texas. But we do still have a lot of that availability as we get outside to the east, west, and even north parts surrounding Dallas. So there are some options, but no, you're not going to see people just riding around on their horses on a regular basis. Myth number 2, Texas is a desert.
This is a big fat myth.
It is. There's definitely parts of Texas. West Texas, that's a desert.
Yeah, and I think people think of the movies from the Old West. It was like the rolling, like, what are those things called? The plants that like stick together and they like
tumbleweeds.
Tumbleweeds.
That's in Lubbock.
Yes, I was gonna say this is like way West Texas where there's literally red dirt and nothing. Yeah. Sorry, West Texas, but that's what it's like. But if you are going down to South Texas, it's very coastal. It's hot. It's muggy, very humid. So if you move to Houston, you're like, oh my God, it's a beach. Yeah, it's a hot beach. It's very sweaty.
Yeah.
And then North Texas is very different than all of those. It's a very mild climate, I would say, but it's hot. We have very consistent seasons. It doesn't get extremely cold, but it gets extremely hot.
We do get pretty hot. And then if you head east, you get lots of lush and green trees and more foliage. We don't have a lot of color change anywhere in Texas. Further north, where we get a little bit more cold weather, like Amarillo, up in the Panhandle, you might see some of that. But Texas would not be considered a desert. What I will say is Fort Worth is technically where the West begins. And as you go further west of Fort Worth, you are going to find more desert-like, but just dirt, right? Not a lot of greenery and trees, not as much. So you do have a little bit of everything depending on what part of Texas you're considering. You don't just have desert to choose from. We do have lots of options.
Texas being one of the largest states, you have to keep in consideration, just like Texas as a whole, there's never going to be one statement that is flat across the board. So.
Absolutely. We're basically like a country within a country.
We are.
And we feel like we're the best country.
We were a country within a country.
And we're trying to be one again, for those of you who don't know.
Myth number 3, all Texans love country music. What do you think?
I do.
Well, you are a part of probably the minority in that one. I would say that country music is very, very common in the state of Texas, but I'm not going to say that it's like the majority of music that people listen to. Lots of country stations out here. Lots of country music stars are from Texas, but we have a huge mix of genres out here. We have pop, rap, house music, EDM, whatever you can dream of, we listen to it. So
yeah, and as you get into different parts of the Metroplex, you're going to find different things are more common. If you go to downtown Dallas towards Deep Ellum area, you're going to get a lot of eclectic and rock style music. And there's a lot of music venues that really do highlight and showcase some different music genres. So I think there's really anything you're looking for, you're going to be able to find it in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Myth number 4, everything is bigger in Texas.
I don't know. We like to think so.
We do like to use it a lot because, guys, Texans are very proud of being from Texas, probably more than almost any other state.
We probably have some of the biggest trucks in Texas.
Definitely the biggest trucks.
Some of the biggest cowboy hats. There's lots of things that we
things like Big Bend National Park and Kings Ranch. Some of those are the biggest, but
myth number 5. Texas is all about barbecue and Tex-Mex.
that doesn't feel like a myth at all, actually.
That is not a lie. We were actually just talking about having Mexican food tonight. So Tex-Mex is actually kind of a weird thing. If you're not from Texas, this is a different type of Mexican food than you will ever have. We have tacos, quesadillas, chips and salsa with every meal, guacamole, tableside guacamole. These are just things when you go to Mexico, like that's not Mexican food,
No.
But it's the greatest category of food.
It is. Everything's covered in cheese and it's greasy and it's delicious. And our barbecue is the best. Absolute best. I know we have some arguments with Kansas City barbecue, and obviously there's some other states that like to claim they have the best, but yeah, I'm going to say this one might not be a myth.
It's not a myth.
We do have lots of great food, lots of great cuisine choices, especially as you get closer to city centers. Guys, when you move into the suburbs, I promise you're going to have a couple of really amazing Asian food restaurants, but you're going to have like 18 Tex-Mex restaurants and probably 4 barbecue places, and only one is going to be worth eating at. We definitely do overdo the Tex-Mex and the barbecue. So this we are calling it a myth, but we don't agree.
I also will say this is our opinion based off of living in North Texas. We don't go to Houston often, and we also don't really go to Austin or any other area. But I will say San Antonio is known for their Tex-Mex. That's kind of what we're
and then you get to Houston and you're going to get some more coastal flair.
Well, they have more Latin cuisines.
Same, Austin has more eclectic. In my opinion, you get lots of food options and food fusions in Austin, but really we only talk about North Texas because we think it's the best. Myth number 6, Texas is all about oil and gas.
Kind of.
I know. I would say probably more as I was growing up, the oil and gas industry was huge. Pretty much everything in Texas was somehow attached to the oil and gas industry. And a lot of the wealth in Texas has come from the oil and gas industry. So that has not necessarily changed, especially North Texas. We have become kind of an epicenter for large corporations. So, healthcare is a really big industry in North Texas. We have lots of technology. We have Toyota. We have State Farm Insurance. We have lots of really big headquarters in North Texas. And then when we get down to Austin and Houston, obviously in Austin, we have things like Tesla and some other big companies all across the state. So we are a little more than just oil and gas, but I would say it is definitely probably a foundation industry for the wealth in Texas. Maybe it's a myth. Kind of. Not really.
We don't know if we can debunk that one.
We're not debunking it. We're going to say there is a lot of money from oil and gas, but it is nicely attached to lots of other industries. And we are really promoting the tax incentives for large companies. So Texas has made some big strides over the last 10 or 20 years, really in building other industry.
Myth number 7, Texas is a lawless state.
Like the Wild Wild West?
I don't know. I feel like we're talking about Chicago here. So this is crazy.
Shots fired, Chicago.
We are definitely not lawless. We have very strict laws here. We have lots of police, lots of firearms here, but they are heavily regulated like they should be across the entire U.S. A lot of times you will see cops do carry a gun here. There are times when they have large ARs if something extreme is happening. You will see that very often. We do have open carry laws here. You can carry a gun in your car, just don't do it across state lines. And just make sure that you're getting a license for these things. You don't have to have a license, but I would highly suggest getting a license.
Yeah, a caveat on that is constitutional carry has become a thing in several states, and it's not a bad thing, but most people who see that believe they can just carry a gun. And that's not really the way that it works. There's a lot of limitations and rules around where you can carry guns. Obviously, you cannot take them onto school campuses. You cannot take them into bars, which are 51% alcohol. There are signs.
Private businesses.
Right. There are signs posted. So you have to follow the rules of where you can carry just because we're constitutional carry doesn't mean it's the wild, wild west. We're not lawless.
Yeah. And with that being said, like I was saying previously, I would suggest that you do get licensed to carry a gun just so that you know the laws, you're following the laws, and you're protected as well if something were to happen.
Yeah, and to receive that handgun license, you actually do have to go through a course. You have to prove that your accuracy is a certain percent. There is a lot of education in that process. We are big gun advocates, being North Texas natives. We grew up with, my husband, her dad, they hunt. He's not a they. He hunts. He's a he.
Hunts.
But there's a lot of hunting. You're going to find that pretty regularly. And even though we are in a suburban area, if you move to Prosper and Celina, you're going to hear gunshots coming up here just any day, right? We're almost on dove season.
Almost a dove season. And anybody with more than 10 acres can actually live shoot on their property and hunt at any time.
Yeah, so there is a lot of gun ownership. I would say that as a majority, it is very responsible gun ownership, but it's not what you're expecting to just see like people walking around with like holsters. That's not normal.
I was going to say, I have lived here my entire life, and there's probably less than 5 times that I've seen someone open carrying a holster on their hip.
But I would like to point out that you can assume almost everyone's carrying. It's going to be very non-obvious in most cases. Just know that people are carrying. It's generally for their safety, for your safety. It is not a scary situation at all, at least not in our experience. Most of our gun owners are responsible gun owners. That is a myth. We are going to say that yes, there is a lot of guns in Texas, but we're not going to call it the lawless wild, wild west.
Yeah, you can't just come here and do whatever you want.
Right?
Or you shouldn't.
Because there's people carrying guns. Don't do that.
Well, with that being said, we did try to debunk and continue with all of the myths from Texas. If you have any myths that you've heard of from the state of Texas, we would love to hear them. I'm sure we can debunk them. We would love for you to follow, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.